The war between Universal and Disney has been raging on for over a decade now. It all started back when Universal opened up the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, which brought them out from the depths of just being some little fish in the pond in the theme park world to actually being able to join the big boys table with Disney and have a 1v1 chess match. However, for a lot of the years that this game of chess has been going on, Disney has just refused to play. They haven't been building stuff every year. And as a result, while Universal's over there spending money like it's going out of fashion, Disney has allowed their competitor to gain market share at an extremely rapid pace. That being said though, even though Universal has made up a ton of ground, Disney is still miles ahead of them. As far as size goes, as far as attendance goes, and as far as revenue goes. By any metric that matters on paper, Disney is dominating right now, and they are by far the market leader. It's not even close. So that brings us to today. Sure, Universal has been gaining ground, but they have a long way to go if they want to dethrone the mouse. So with that being the case, what does the landscape look like for the battle of 2023? Well, for Universal, it's the same strategy it's been the whole time. Throw the kitchen sink at it. As you probably already know, they're building a brand new theme park in Orlando, Epic Universe, set to open in 2025. On top of that, they're building a new regional theme park in Frisco, Texas, just outside of Dallas, geared towards young families, as well as a Halloween Horror Nights experience in Las Vegas. And this is not even mentioning what they're doing at their existing parks. Universal Hollywood just opened up Super Nintendo World, and Universal Studios Florida will be getting a new Minions attraction. So as you can see, Universal is not backing down. I mean, in fact, there are plenty of other attractions and projects that I didn't even mention that are still just rumors, right? That could easily be opening up in 2024 and beyond. But regardless, Universal already has a crazy schedule going forward just in the next couple of years that really should have Disney worried. So with that being said, what does Disney have up their sleeves in the next couple of years? Well, this year, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway is opening up in Disneyland, and Tron Light Cycle Run is going to open up in Magic Kingdom, and next year, both coasts will get a reskin of Splash Mountain. What? You thought there was more? Nope, that's it. You really thought that Disney was going to answer in kind to Universal? They've never done that this entire duration of this war. I mean, in fact, the only time they've ever really, quote-unquote, answered in kind, they did it 5-10 years after the fact. So on the surface, this shouldn't come as too much of a surprise, right? Disney typically doesn't really concern itself with what Universal does. However, this is a different scenario than it was 10 years ago, right? I mean, back when Wizarding World of Harry Potter opened, Disney had no reason to expect that Universal was going to all of a sudden become a competitor, right? They had been sitting on the top of the mountain by themselves for years, right? I mean, it's a big reason why throughout the 2000s and the 2010s, they really didn't do a whole lot until Universal made them do something. I mean, as mentioned earlier, it's the big reason why Universal was able to gain market share on Disney so quickly, because for the first few years after Universal kind of made a name for itself, Disney didn't really have an answer to anything that Universal was doing. It wasn't until 2017 with Pandora that Disney had anything really to show in the battle against Universal. But the situation has changed. I mean, Disney shouldn't be caught off guard by anything Universal is doing. I mean, Epic Universe was announced years ago, and it was delayed 2 years. It was supposed to open up this year, but because of COVID, it got pushed back. So surely Disney understands what's at stake here. Surely they understand that Universal is not just joking around. They're not somebody to just scoff at. Like, they actually mean business. So what gives? Why is Disney doing what appears to be next to nothing? Well, I'll tell you folks, it has to do with Disney Plus. You see, Disney Plus is a money-losing business, as most streaming companies are. And because the top-level executives over at Disney really want to make this company succeed and want Disney Plus to become one of the last streamers standing so we can actually become profitable at some point, they're willing to throw whatever it takes at it in order to keep it alive. But the money that they're throwing away into that money pit has to come from somewhere. And guess what? The parks are making a ton of money. So corporate has decided, we'll take that money, thank you very much, and we'll go ahead and just throw it into the fire. And that's what they've been doing. So regardless if the people at the parks recognize the threat that Universal poses, they can't do anything about it. They don't have the money. Despite the fact that the parks are earning their stay and are being like, listen, man, look at all the money we're making. You don't want to lose out on that, right? You want to make more money, so you should reinvest in the parks. Instead, corporate finds it more important to spend money on Disney Plus, not to mention that a lot of the profits that the parks are bringing in is also going towards the debt that came from acquiring 20th Century Fox, which of course was a deal that happened because they wanted to build at the library for, you guessed it, Disney Plus. So, yeah. And that's the thing, is that this could be a short-term thing. It could be a long-term thing. We don't really know. Disney could be beholden to the other businesses within their conglomerate for a long time, which could, once again, just as we saw in the early 2010s, leave the door wide open for Universal to just stroll right in, do whatever they want, and just continue to gain market share without any pushback. Obviously, this is great for Universal. I mean, they could absolutely see themselves growing the same way that they did in the early 2010s with little to no pushback. However, they're doing something a little different this time. Universal is not just content, with those big gains that they got back then. They want more. They're looking further down the line. And there's a recent move that Universal made that you might be kind of familiar with that I believe is not just going to gain market share, but is going to actually start to bite into Disney's core business. What move am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about the regional theme park, Universal Texas. That's what I'm talking about. It's a move that takes money away from the destination parks, right? I mean, this is money you could have spent to improve and expand on those parks, but instead you decide to build a regional theme park that on its own will not come even anywhere close to generating the same type of income that those parks generate. And when you talk about the war against Disney, it seems like this is not even a factor in it, because it kind of seems like Universal's going into the regional theme park game and is competing against the likes of Six Flags and Cedar Fair. This is not a move that should concern Disney at all. But that's the point, folks. This park is the Trojan horse. It looks so innocent. It's just a regional theme park for young families in the middle of Texas. How is this gonna help Universal in its battle against Disney as far as gaining market share and gaining attendance and doing all this other stuff? How in the world is this going to even matter? It feels like this is just another business model for Universal to go ahead and get into the regional theme park game. It has nothing to do with the destination resorts. But that's the thing. It has everything to do with them. Sure, Universal wants to make a modest profit with this park, and they want it to be a successful regional theme park. But in reality, what is the purpose of this? Let me explain. There are two key competitive advantages that Disney holds over Universal that Universal has not even come close to touching, despite all the years of making up ground and building on and expanding their parks. There are two competitive advantages that Disney holds over them that Universal has not even come close to attaining at all. Timmy, you had your hand up?
Yeah, is it just really good rides and attractions?
No, you stupid idiot! Not rides and attractions! Pay attention! Johnny in the back, please. Excellent brand image. That is correct. Thank you, Johnny. Thank you. Of course, all of us watching this video are familiar with Universal, right? I mean, otherwise you probably wouldn't be watching this if you didn't know who Universal was. But you ask your average Joe Schmo on the street, what comes to your mind when you think of a theme park? The first thing they're going to say is Disney. It's going to be Disney. And for many people, the list stops there. They don't even know of any other theme parks. The only theme park they know is Disneyland and Disney World. That is it. That is the full extent of their theme park knowledge. Obviously, Universal has tried to build their brand awareness, with commercials and advertisements and social media. Social media has helped a lot. But think about it. I mean, think about people who have learned about the Wizarding World of Harry Potter through social media and thought it was Disney. Thought it was at a Disney park. They couldn't even fathom that something like that could have been made by somebody else. How is Universal supposed to convince these tourists to come to their park when many of them don't even know that Universal exists? But that's where Universal Texas, as well as the Halloween Horror Nights experience in Las Vegas, come into play. These experiences that seem just kind of like, like small little money grab opportunities really are ways to build the Universal brand and get the name out there. What both of these experiences do is they just offer up a little taste, a tiny taste of what Universal has to offer and says, hey, you like that? Come visit us in Hollywood and Orlando. That's what both of these experiences do. They're basically introductory experiences for Universal and what they can bring to the table. Think about the Halloween Horror Nights experience in Las Vegas. When guests go to do that, it's going to be a couple hours experience probably, right? Much scaled down from HHN in Hollywood and Orlando. And when they walk out the door, what are they going to see? They're going to see advertisements, they're going to see videos showing the full-on experience at the destination resorts. And if they really liked what they saw at the Las Vegas location, they're going to go ahead and they're going to visit Hollywood and Orlando between September and October. And when it comes to Universal Texas, because it's geared towards young families, the guests that visit these parks are going to age out of it fairly quickly. For most families, it will probably be a few years before their kids are too old for the type of experience that Universal Texas is going to offer. And here's the thing, if these families really enjoyed their time at Universal Texas, then guess what? When their kids are too old to visit that park, where are they going to go? They're going to go to the destination parks. It's easy money, folks. And it's a perfect way for Universal to finally start to get into people's heads and be like, hey, we're here too. It's not just Disney. We offer the same type of experience, if not a better type of experience in many aspects. But there's another competitive advantage that Disney holds in high regard that Universal is also coming after during this time period with Universal Texas. And that is nostalgia. Disney has an unbelievably loyal, die-hard fan base that they have been able to cultivate over the years using nostalgia, whether it be nostalgia for the parks that they visited as a kid or the movies that they watched as a kid, or both. These people want to be around Disney as much as possible and will pay whatever the price to do so. Universal has a few fans like this, but they are few and far between compared to the army of loyalists that Disney has been able to cultivate. I mean, not only is this the audience that has allowed Disney to become the market leader by such a large margin, but it's also the reason why Disney can make whatever changes they want, no matter how anti-consumer they are, and people will still visit the parks because they just love Disney so much. And as a result, there's not really much Universal can do to sway these consumers over to the other side. Yeah, sure, on very rare occasions are they able to flip people, but for the most part, these people are loyal for life. So of course, if Universal is gonna win this war, they need to do something about that nostalgia factor. They need to get into the nostalgia game. And like I said, that's where Universal Texas comes into play, because it's geared towards young families with, you guessed it, young kids, which aren't typically the target audience for the pre-existing Universal resorts. They're both geared towards slightly older audiences. So yeah, sure, there's going to be some kids who go to those parks and have nostalgia for them, but most of them are going to be going to Disney and getting that nostalgia. But if Universal can build a whole park that is completely geared towards young kids, and every single experience is specifically catered towards them, then guess what? They're going to build nostalgia not for Disney, but for Universal. Especially when you consider that many of the families who have Universal Texas in their backyard and visit aren't going to visit Disney World because they won't feel the need to spend all that money and do that because they have Universal Texas as an option, meaning that those kids will never even have the opportunity to build nostalgia for Disney because they're only going to be going to Universal. It's not even going to be a competition. Now, because this is a regional park and is only going to attract so many guests, chances are it's not going to make a noticeable difference anytime soon. Hell, even 10 years from now, when these kids who are visiting Universal Texas grow up, they probably won't even show up on the attendance list. Like, you won't even notice it. There won't be a dent. But if in 10 years after the park opens, Universal conducts a survey and says, hey, you visited Universal Texas all this time ago. Have you visited either Universal Studios Hollywood or Universal Orlando since? And if the answer is yes for a lot of people, well then, it's a success. And you have to imagine at that point, does Universal consider building more regional theme parks? is that something that comes up down the line if this project is a success as far as building up fans and gaining their loyalty from a young age. Who's to say that Universal can't continue this regional theme park strategy of building their brand awareness and building up nostalgia within young kids? So that way, not only are they gaining new fans, but they're also gaining lifelong fans. And that is where Universal is going to start to bite into Disney's competitive advantages. And when those two things topple, or at the very least Universal can be more competitive on those fronts, that is when Universal can really start to strike. Because at the moment they can only gain so much market share no matter what they do. So long as those two competitive advantage pillars stand, they can only do so much. So I think it's absolutely genius that Universal is not just using this opportunity to gain market share, but is also looking long term and saying, okay, here's the thing, we're going to do a couple things that aren't going to generate a whole lot of income in the short term, but are going to create lifelong fans and are going to create more brand awareness for us, while Disney is back there sleeping, worried about their other businesses. So there you have it, folks. That's the outlook for the war between Universal Studios and Disney for the next few years. And I really wanted to highlight the Universal Texas fact because I feel like most people didn't really notice what Universal was trying to do there and to see the long-term vision for that. So I hope that I kind of shed some light on that. If you're Disney watching this, you're welcome. As always, I'll take my check in the mail. Thank you very much. And let me know what you guys think of this battle for the next few years in the comments. Do you think that Universal is going to gain ground? Do you think that they're going to start to topple those competitive advantages of Disney? Or do you think that Disney has nothing to be worried about? Maybe what they're doing, the bare minimum, is plenty, and they're going to be fine at the end of the day. Let me know in the comments. Love to hear what you say, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.